Now, with elections here in Germany just a couple of weeks away, Social Democrat Chancellor Olaf Scholz and his Conservative rival Friedrich Merz have gone head-to-head in a heated television debate. Mr. Merz and his Christian Democrats are the favourites to lead Germany's next government. His Conservative alliance is ahead in the polls with around 30%. Last night's debate covered topics including relations with the far-right Alternative for Germany party. Friedrich Merz recently caused political outrage when his party relied on AfD votes to push draft anti-immigration legislation through the German parliament. The debate moderators asked Chancellor Scholz if he trusts Mr. Merz not to work with the far right in the next parliament. This was his reply.
Nein.
No, I do not know how it will be. I have said publicly for weeks and months that I believe in Mr. Merz and that he will act in accordance with his statement from November last year, which former Chancellor Merkel also recalled. This was a very precise statement, and Mr. Merz said he wouldn't do the type of cooperation he has done here. That's what he said in November. Now he has done it, and for no good reason, and that is a breach of his word and a breaking of a taboo. And that's why, unfortunately, I can no longer be sure. I wish I could be, of course, but I'm not sure.
When
Mr. Scholz started, the AfD was at 10.3%. Now Mr. Scholz is quitting. The AfD is at 20%. That is a serious threat to our democracy. The AfD must become smaller again.
Well, our chief political correspondent, Nina Haase, was watching last night. Welcome, Nina. Let's start with that AfD question. How did Friedrich Merz handle it?
Well, Friedrich Merz, I felt, was very well prepared for this TV debate. He did not let himself be provoked by the Chancellor. And to be honest, Olaf Scholz did not use this opportunity to the extent many would have expected, given that it was such a big deal, the Conservatives' behaviour in Bundestag, that many centre-left people are saying that this behaviour was the most shocking they'd experienced in their political career, that it was a watershed moment. And that did not come across this way in the debate. Yes, we heard this soundbite, but Olaf Scholz fairly quickly moved on. And overall, I did have the feeling that he was trying to get away from emotions towards facts and actually point out the differences in the political programmes between his party, the Social Democrats, and the Conservatives. And to me, that was surprising, given that this TV debate was definitely one of the last chances for him to catch up with his rival, who's way ahead of him at the moment.
OK, let's talk about the AfD then. The main issue driving their popularity, these far-right wingers, is migration. Now, Mr. Merz says if elected, one of his first acts would be to basically close all of Germany's borders. The Chancellor had a pretty robust answer. We'll listen to that and then come back to you.
I think what Mr. Merz is proposing here is against German interests. It is against everything that is of the utmost importance for our national welfare, for the welfare of our country. And that's why I say, why should we be so stupid?
Warum soll man so doof sein?
Nina Haase, it almost seems like the Chancellor is trying to provoke Mr. Merz. How do you think that plays with voters?
Well, many people after the debate in snap polls said, but also the observers who had been following the debate like us, said that they didn't recognise Olaf Scholz, the Chancellor, particularly because of his strong wording at that point. But again, Phil, I do have to say that this was sort of the strongest language that we heard from the Chancellor. And I do believe that many people sometimes want to see a bit more emotion from Olaf Scholz, that he is somebody who is difficult to read when it comes to his emotions. So 90 minutes of watching Olaf Scholz trying to attack his rival was definitely an opportunity that many viewers actually seized and followed this debate. Having said that, Olaf Scholz did also not convince everybody in terms of the way he spoke, especially in the first half. He was definitely on the defensive and was seen as the weaker candidate, particularly because he tried to portray the complexity of migration rules, for example, and describe how difficult it is and how you have to differentiate. And it was very easy for Friedrich Merz, the challenger, to then say, sorry, I didn't get that. I don't know if anybody else did. So Friedrich Merz definitely jumped on that opportunity there.
OK, another issue in this election is the German economy. Friedrich Merz accused the Chancellor of ignoring reality. We'll again hear from him and then come back to you.
I'm somewhat amazed, Mr. Chancellor, at your perception. We are now in the third year of a recession. This has never happened before in Germany. We have 3 million unemployed people in Germany with a rising trend and 700,000 vacancies that cannot be filled. We have a wave of insolvencies like never before in the last 15 years. 50,000 more companies have gone bankrupt during your term of office, almost half of them in the last year, an upward trend. And then you say we don't have deindustrialization? How is the loss of 300,000 jobs in industry any different? That is deindustrialization.
Das ist Deindustrialisierung.
Nina Hase, quite a charge sheet there from the Conservative candidate. How did the Chancellor respond?
Well, Olaf Scholz is also somebody who believes that Germany must see more growth. So I feel that they are not that far apart when it comes to overall goals. They are apart when it comes to how to finance certain measures. But overall, we did see a debate here where it almost felt a bit like we were watching coalition negotiations taking place that normally happen after the elections, but the Conservatives and the Social Democrats know that it is very likely that they will have to form the next government together. Whether they'll manage to just keep it at these two parties or whether they'll have to take the Greens on board as well is a different question. But here we did see them trying to get into the details of, do you tax the rich, how many percentage points, all of these questions to really make it clear to their own voters, vote for me and not for the other guy. But they also couldn't attack each other to the point that would rule out coalition building after February the 23rd.
And how did the two candidates, what did they have to say on foreign policy about how Germany would face the world under them?
Again, that was very similar. Germany firmly rooted in Europe, firmly having to work together with its partners. Germany, of course, being at the core of the continent with 9 neighbouring countries. But also, ideologically, this is something where they all say that the European Union is very important to them. They got a couple of questions on Donald Trump. They didn't call him Mr. President. They just called him Trump by his last name. So there is a tendency to maybe use a language that is not quite protocol-like, but they also acknowledge that they will have to work together with the new US administration, so not many differences there. What I thought was striking was that there was hardly any word on China, there was nothing on the climate crisis, so these topics are definitely something where we'll see a debate after the federal elections.
Okay, thank you for that, Nina. Nina Hase is DW's chief political correspondent.